Welcome to a show focusing on educating property owners, tenants, and real estate professionals in all areas of property management and real estate in general. A forum to discuss important aspects of managing rental properties, as well as sitting down with various guests to get their insight on the property management world. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Bridgeman Properties video podcast.
Hey everybody, I'm Pete Candelario.
And hi, I'm Jason Bridgeman.
And we want to welcome you to our very first video podcast. This is episode number 1 of the Bridgeman Properties video podcast. And when I thought of having this video podcast, I came up to Jason just for his ideas, and we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do these video podcasts for, right?
Yep, and that was the basis of our conversation was what can we do, what can we put out there to help better educate the public, public being landlords, tenants, real estate agents, how can we help move the process forward within the property management or leasing industry. So again, as Pete said, this is going to be our first video podcast, and hopefully with this information, we can help better educate and assist individuals that are in those types of positions.
No doubt. So like Jason was just saying, so our target audience for this is going to be owners, and it's going to be tenants and realtors. We're trying to put out some valuable content for these individuals because a lot of the podcasts or video podcasts that are out there from property management companies today are basically talking about or centering around their own industry. So you'll have property managers that want to educate other property managers on how to grow the business, right? Or you have property managers that are trying to educate investors that are already investing in properties. So they're talking about how to wholesale properties or how to assign contracts and things of that nature. But there's not a real property management company that's actually putting out information specifically for owners, let's say, that are put into a landlord situation because they had to leave the state or whatever the case may be, right? And then there's also tenants that are not educated in actually renting out a single family home compared to renting out an apartment, because there are differences, right?
Right. The thing that we see a lot is individuals being placed in positions that they're not accustomed to. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about property owners that are thrown into the situation of now they're a landlord. And what do they do as a landlord? So the basis of our content for at least the first several videos, we're trying to focus on, okay, now you're a landlord. What do? You don't have an option. You have a home.
Right, you're stuck,
and
kind of.
It's either negative equity or whatever life situation has been thrown at you. Now you have a rental property. And not to say that no one is providing this information, but we're just hoping to provide better, up-to-date, current, and continuous content. And again, I think it's geographically located because based upon different geographical locations in the United States, for example, San Antonio is very, very unique because we have so many military bases.
Right, exactly.
And those military bases, the medical centers, the technology centers, different places that we have, individuals could be here one moment and then gone the next based on their job and based on the transfers. So it does present a unique situation in San Antonio that may not be the same in different areas of the United States. So we're just hoping to get some content out there that can help out those landlords. Again, first-time tenants that are moving from an apartment into a single-family residential home, completely different animal as far as...
Because now they have to maintain the property, right?
Right. And, you're living in an apartment and you get up and do nothing with the apartment as far as maintenance, as far as upkeep. You get into a single-family home, totally different animal. And the same thing with real estate agents. I was a general real estate agent for a long time, and I know when I dealt with investors, when I dealt with potential landlords, I really didn't know what I was doing with those individuals, or I didn't know what those individuals were about to be facing as a landlord. So our main goal is just to help spread information and help individuals that are in those types of situations.
So you actually went right into our next point, which is this video is basically an introduction. It's our first video, but it is an introduction of us, of Bridgeman Properties, and Jason has already went into how he was a real estate agent. Go ahead and tell us a little bit how you got started in the industry.
So what happened with me is when I left high school, I joined the Air Force. I spent around 15 years in the Air Force, and at about my 12 or 13 year point in the Air Force, I had a supervisor, Quincy. So I'll give a shout out to Quincy McMahon Henson. That if it wasn't for Quincy, I would have never got into real estate.
She's still in real estate, by the way.
She's still in real estate today. Quincy's very successful. Still with New Home Realty with Pam Cowley. So she's still a very successful real estate agent. But back in 1998-ish, she was my supervisor, and she said, Jason, you need to get your real estate license. So after continual prodding, I followed her lead and got my real estate license and decided that I was going to pursue a career in real estate. So in 2002, became fully licensed. When I first left the military, I was a new home sales counselor for several different builders in San Antonio and in Houston. Then I decided that I was going just to be a general real estate agent, represent buyers, represent sellers. I was with another brokerage or two prior to coming to Keller Williams, and now I've been at Keller Williams around 10 years. And we were managing, my wife and I, my wife's a real estate agent as well, and we were managing around 12 doors that we personally owned, not managing them correctly. Knowing what I know today, we were not managing them properly. We're not managing them correctly.
Per the Texas Property Code, or just in general?
Well, I can't say we were violating anything within the Texas Property Code. It was just no processes, no programs, no procedures, right? It was like, okay, hey, you signed a TAR lease, but how do you enforce that?
Exactly.
How do you live within the standards of the lease? And I think when you're managing it yourself, it's your own house.
You're emotionally tied.
Your emotions pour in. And now looking back 15 years later, that's what I see. I see myself managing properties emotionally, whether that be with your heart or whether that be with anger, right? You're not getting your rent.
But you're emotionally tied with not only the house, but you're also emotionally tied with the tenant that's in there because you put them in there, right?
So that's what you find. You find yourself placing tenants into properties that you personally know, and you may not have qualified them based upon screening criteria. You qualified them based upon what your heart felt.
Right.
And unfortunately, in today's society, that sometimes come back and would bite us.
So they signed the lease, but you're not really enforcing any of the standards in the lease because of that.
They signed the lease, they're living in your property, but the first time something does not go the way you think it should or go the way the lease says it should, what's your reaction? Are you reacting in such a manner to where you've just placed yourself and you've just placed your assets in a further litigious position, meaning now you're doing things that can get you sued, that do not fall. You mentioned the Texas Property Code. There's lots of different parameters within the Texas Property Code that even being a homeowner, there's a bad misconception that I own the property, I'm a landlord, so the Texas Property Code does not pertain to me. When even just an everyday citizen that's out there owning their own property, the Texas Property Code still pertains to you. So we went through that process for quite a while, did general real estate. Not embarrassed to say, but I was with RE/MAX for a long time, had great success with RE/MAX, and at one point in time I decided around 10 years ago to come over to Keller Williams, and at that point in time it was when it was kind of the downturn in the market.
Right.
Around 2006, things got a little interesting in the real estate market, and at that point in time, wife and I decided let's start a property management company. Some of the major driving forces behind starting a property management company was the clients that I dealt with, the clients that I was helping buy homes or sell homes or their homes were turning into rentals. They would always tell me they could never get a hold of their property manager. They could never get him on the phone.
Right.
And that was my driving force. And Pete, I think you will attest to this today. That's my number one hot button is when
it is
when someone says they can't get a hold of you. That's a problem.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
We're in a industry. We're in a business to where communication is key, and at times we fall short with that, and then that does appear to be a little bit irritating to me. Why you just can't pick up the phone? So,
right.
my goal when I started this was to deliver the best customer service, the best communication process to the clients that were out there. And that's still what I believe in today is delivering a product that meets individuals' expectations, understanding we're not going to meet everyone's expectations, but our number one goal when we got out of bed in the morning is meeting individuals' expectations within property management, asset protection, and things of that nature.
Yeah, well, we're actually dealing with probably the most costly asset that an individual has, right? So when it comes to communicating and when somebody when an owner is trying to call the property manager for something, it's very important for that owner, right. To get a hold of that individual. So yeah, and obviously we're living in in times now that everything is now, right?
Oh, everything is super inflated, or I always say that it's the McDonald's mentality, right?
Yeah,
and ourselves included. And I'm guilty of it. I'm like, was it Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory?
Yeah.
I want it, and I want it now. And for us to think that that's not us would be a fallacy, because it is us. Everybody wants what they want. They want it now. And I think that's only going to become greater over time. So
right.
It's our job to adapt and overcome to those situations. And meet people's expectations. So that's not always going to happen, but if our goal is to exceed their expectations, we should meet somewhere there in the middle.
So yeah, so communication is key, right? And that's why we're doing these video podcasts as well, to put out more information for the owners and tenants and realtors, and we hope to put out some good information for everybody so that they can actually learn some things on the property management side. So. You got into property management,
right?
In Keller Williams. You started with how many doors?
When we started out, we had 2 doors. And
2 doors, somebody else's doors. How about your properties?
Those we had sold when the market had crashed. We sold everything we owned except 2 doors.
Okay.
So, and gave away some other stuff too. But that's that's a different topic.
Yeah.
That was part of being
Probably didn't give away happily.
Well, that was part of being a real estate agent for under 6 or 8 years.
Yeah. Not
understanding that putting away what you make and saving what you need to save as a real estate agent. So being in real estate less than 5 or 6 years at that time was probably the best thing. It crashed when it crashed for us because it was an eye opener to us. So we started out and we had 2 doors. Those 2 doors we still own today, thank God, plus some more that we've acquired along the way. But we started out with 2 doors. Pretty quickly, we grew to about 75 doors. And that's really how Bridgeman Property Management started. Bridgeman Properties itself, now that we've turned into and have buyer's agents and seller agents and leasing agents, has started to evolve into a little bit of a different animal. But when we first started out, we had 2. We got to 75 rather quickly. We were at 1604 in Petranco, and I don't know the exact number, but somewhere between 75 and 125 is when you and I reconnected. And for anybody that don't know, Pete and I served in the military together. We served as military training instructors down at Lackland.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because that is, the complete opposite of customer service. We were providing customer service, but it was more of a
dictatorship.
A direct conversation, right?
Yeah, direct conversation.
Direct conversations, and there was very, very little room for rhetorical questions.
Yeah.
So, Pete came into Bridgeman Property Management 5 years ago.
Going on six, actually.
Almost 6 years.
So almost 6 years. So like Jason was saying, we met in the Air Force. So I was active duty Air Force with him, and we were military training instructors here at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. I came to San Antonio around 2000 when I got that opportunity to become an MTI. I quickly met Jason. At first, I didn't like Jason. I've told him this story. I was a new instructor. He was an instructor for probably a year or two before I was, so he was obviously a seasoned instructor. He was in a different section of Lackland.
You got here in 2000 the first time?
Yeah, 2000. Yeah. So you were at.
So I got to San Antonio around 95. So
you were where?
Before
you came to the 24th.
I was at the FTX, so I was out working in the field, training some troops out in the field, and then came back over to 324th and greeted you with my presence.
Yeah, exactly. So I was a new instructor roughly, and I had my own dorm at that time, and you came over, and obviously you were a seasoned instructor, and even though it was my dorm, you were trying to take it over kind of.
I think I took it over for a moment.
And took over the flight for a little bit and stuff like that, and obviously that kind of pissed me off a little bit. But we quickly became friends. I wouldn't say we were close friends at that time because we just worked together. We didn't really hang out or anything. But the weird thing is that I left Lackland in 2004, and you left.
I left in 2003. 2002, 2003 is when I got out, and that's weird. It's weird, and unless you've ever been there, you folks wouldn't understand it. But at that time, there was about 350 training instructors at Lackland. There's around 350 MTIs at Lackland. You may not have known every one of them, but you had a brotherhood, and you may have irritated each other at points in time.
Right.
But you would stand out on the middle of I-10 for one of those brothers or sisters. So it was weird because people did do things within that arena that irritated you, but you knew who your brothers and sisters were within that core. So
what was funny for me is even after I left in 2004, I went back to my regular career field, which was in the hospital. But I still knew what was going on in the MTI Corps, right?
Yeah, you still keep track of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't probably directly with individuals, but I knew that you had gotten into real estate. And I knew how, this other person that was an instructor at another squadron did, went a different path or left the squadron or whatever. So we knew each other that way. So in 2008, I got an opportunity to come back to Lackland as an MTI. And that was my last 4 years of the military. Within, I think, 2011, that's when I decided to retire out of the military. And even though I was an X-ray tech in radiology, that's not something I wanted to do when I retired. So I don't know why real estate came to mind. I don't know. It just came up one day, and the only person I knew that was in real estate was you, right? So
and I think I
contacted you.
Yeah, I think you had talked to, because I always stayed in touch. The same, I still stayed in touch and knew lots of folks down at Lackland, and I think you had spoke with someone.
Yeah, I saw you come into the squadron a couple times in your little suit and tie.
Right. Yeah, I was marketing.
That was back then. Yeah.
So one thing that I've found as I get older that is very intriguing to me, that fate does play a huge part in your life, right? And I've said this to Pete before, that if 20 years ago someone would have told me, hey, you and Pete Candelaria will be doing real estate together, or you'll be operating a business together, we both would have laughed about that. But it happened, and things continually happen like that in your lives as you get older, and it's a testament to friendship, trust, probably some of the fundamental things that were instilled upon us within the military shine brighter in your life as you
Right.
get older. So,
Well, I truly believe that, people put in your life for a reason, right? So
right,
I met
good
you,
or good or bad,
good or bad.
right,
So I met you in 2000, right? And you left around 2002, 2003, and then I left Lackland in 2004.
right,
But I didn't contact you again till 2011 when I was thinking of retiring and getting into real estate. And obviously I didn't retire till 2012 and
right,
actually went down that path. Now when I got into the real estate game and I wanted to, I took my classes and got my license. I wasn't even thinking about property management. You had just gone into it, and you were telling me that you have a whole bunch of rental leads and stuff like that, and you can help me with the rental leads coming in, and that was great. But I was working those rental leads and still thinking of kind of general real
Right.
estate, right? And at that point, I think you were at like 75 to 80 properties
right,
when I first got my license and stuff. And I remember that one day that you had to let your receptionist go.
right,
But I was downstairs taking a class with Keller Williams, and you actually came down and asked if I would come up and help you and stuff. And I guess that's how it's all started.
how
right?
it started basically.
I still tried to show some rentals, and I quickly found that trying to manage properties and show rentals at the same time wasn't very well. It was just taking a lot of my time and stuff like that. But we actually quickly grew, right? Within a year, we did grow to like 150, 155 properties.
Well, then it's a cycle. That's a cycle that I've seen over the last 16, almost 17 years. That new agents within the industry believe they could do everything.
Right.
Myself included, right? Myself included. When I first got my license, I was like, well, I can sell farms, I can do ranches, I could do, and you quickly learn that. As Gary Keller says, you got to find
thing,
your
right?
one thing. You got to find your niche. You have to find that one specialty that you can become an expert at. You can master that, and the sooner you find that and head in that direction, the more successful you'll be. So, you went through that same thing. You went through the exact same thing that every agent goes through, and that. Those will be some of the topics that we're hoping to
Right, exactly.
to touch on to help out fellow agents, because I believe our job is just how can we help move clients, customers, how can we help move the industry forward in a positive way, right? Rather than how can we just help ourselves, how can we help the whole industry move forward? And hopefully with some of this content that we put out there, that'll do that for the consumers and the public. So
I agree. So right now, well, like I said before, so we grew to roughly 150, 160 properties
Right.
pretty quickly. I think actually there was a competition there between you and me at the beginning. Being that we were instructors before, we were used to
Right.
waking up early, so we used to try to beat each other coming into the office. It got earlier and earlier.
Finally, I just slept here. Pete actually thought I was going home, but I just slept here.
Yeah, basically, we used to get here, it was dark still, and we used to leave,
And
it was still dark.
It'd be dark.
Yeah, so we did put in a lot of hours, but that helped us grow. The company helped us put in a lot of the procedures and processes
Right.
that we have in place to this day. We've actually grown in personnel. We started off with, after you and I were at that 150, 160 properties, we did get an admin person,
Right.
And then eventually that admin person became a property manager, and we got another admin person. So right now, I mean, what we're sitting at 3 property managers,
Yes.
assessment, maintenance coordinator, and an admin person, right?
Well, and I think that is something that speaks for itself. The core individuals that were with us at the beginning, that started this process with us, helped us build the platform, so to speak,
Right.
of what we have built upon. They're still here today. With Erica being one of the very first receptionists, still here today. Alexa being here as long as Alexa's been here.
Right.
Obviously, your wife, my wife, being with us as long as they have, I think, speaks volumes. And again, we don't do everything perfect. There's no way for us to do everything perfect. But to continually focus on being as close to perfect as possible, I think is what has allowed us to grow. We've made a lot of mistakes along the way. For us to say that we have not would be a complete lie. We've made a lot of mistakes. They were never intentional mistakes, but again, we go back and we focus on the basics and focus on what can we do to help move forward the industry and
Right.
help out the consumers and help out landlords, tenants, realtors. So that's what I believe in every day is what can we do to make it better and what can we do to make ourselves better and not make those mistakes.
Right. And the thing is with those mistakes, obviously we own the mistakes, right? And what's your thing about failing forward, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we learn anything, which is probably a bad way to put it, but I don't think we learn the best or the most out of an experience when we succeed. Okay, we're happy, we did something good, we forget about it.
Right.
If we fail at something and you're miserable,
It's a learning opportunity.
right, you're miserable, you're only going to hit your thumb with the hammer so many times in your life, and you're going to remember that. So I am a huge fan of failing forward, John Maxwell, all of those types of things, and that's what we continue to do on a daily basis. We continue to fail forward, and that's what is continue to help us build our team.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I think that failing forward or from mistakes, learning from mistakes, has helped us build our processes and procedure, right? And it's still something that we continuously update and work every day because we're not perfect. I mean, we're going to make mistakes here and there.
So so it's funny that we're talking about failing forward because we have attempted multiple times to stop that TV
That's why we keep editing this video here.
from turning off. But obviously, we're not technologically savvy enough to figure out the multiple layers of screensavers. So, it'll be black for now. But I think the important thing for us to kind of start to end this video with is that we started out small. We started out basically as a one-man shop.
Right.
And we've now built a team office-wide of around 12 people that we hope to continue to grow.
Right.
And with that growth, it will help us provide better services. And again...
And that's 12 people, not only in the property management world. Obviously, we have
right.
individuals that are in the general real estate arena as well. Because with doing property management, sometimes our landlords or property owners do want to try to sell their property.
Correct.
And so we do have a sales division that, and this is a plug, they know exactly what happens when there's a tenant already in the property and how to sell that property with a tenant in there.
Well,
because it's different than...
And that is one avenue or one facet of what we can do for individual owners, with the understanding of the agreement that we've made with all real estate agents.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just not Keller Williams agents, but with any real estate agent, if you send us a property to manage, you're going to get it back when it goes to sell.
Right.
That goes without question. If a property comes to us from another real estate agent within the industry, when that owner wants to sell, it goes back to you. A lot of times what happens with that is either the agent's out of the business, the agent no longer lives in San Antonio, so sometimes we do have to sell properties for owners. We have the full capability to do that. We have individuals on our team, that's what their expertise is, but it is completely separate from managing properties. The individuals that are representing sellers really have nothing to do with the property management, because I do believe, and we do believe, that it's a separate animal, and it takes a different skill set to do each of those.
Right.
But the growth of the property management side has allowed us to grow the sales side.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So the growth of the property management side has allowed us to extend into
Yes.
the sales
Yes.
side as well, and actually, in future video podcasts, you'll learn of other things, other avenues that we are growing in as well.
Yeah, we're doing lots of different things. We're doing different Airbnb things. We're doing leasing agent things. So commercial property management. So we're involved in lots of different things. We'll get into them as we talk about the future, as we introduce the team. Again, right now we're between 10 to 12 people strong, team wide, all different avenues of real estate included. And the thing that we want to do with this podcast for the future is just to go back to our opening statement that we said is we want to provide content, we want to provide information and a value for owners, which end up being landlords, whether those are investors, individual homeowners, first-time homeowners, tenants, real estate agents, and we're open. When you see this, if you have a topic, if you're a landlord, if you're a real estate agent, if you're a tenant, whether that's a first-time tenant, multi-tenant, you've done this for years. If you have a topic
or questions,
topic or question, something that you need an answer to, we may not have the answer immediately, but we have the resources to go to find those answers. If you see something that you would like us to speak about, or you'd like to come in and talk about it, let's do that. Let's create some open dialogue, because the more information that we can provide to individuals, the better the process will be for everyone. So that's hopefully what we can do in the future is get as much information out there, as much accurate information that's out there, and continue to do this.
Right. So as far as these video podcasts, we're going to try to put these out on a weekly basis. It's not just going to be Jason and I all the time.
Right.
We are going to have some guests on these video podcasts, some vendors, other realtors, things of that nature, just so we can get some insight and answer some questions from tenants or owners directly. So if you want to email us any topics, questions, go ahead and do so. And hopefully we can provide that content for everybody, and everybody enjoys these video podcasts.
Awesome.
You got anything else?
That's it. Again, if you have any content out there, just get with us. We'll be glad to set up a podcast on it. And if we need to get experts in the room to discuss it, we will.
Yep.
But look forward to seeing you on future podcasts.
All right. That's it. Thanks for watching. Take care.
Bye-bye.